K9 dog stops lunch line. What he smelled shocked the staff. It was a bright Tuesday morning in the town of Maplewood, and Evergreen Hills Middle School was buzzing with excitement. Today was Community Safety Day, and students had been looking forward to it all week. There were posters on the walls, colorful balloons near the cafeteria, and the smell of tater tots floating through the halls. Officer Levi Grant pulled into the staff parking lot just before 8 a.m. His police cruiser was clean, and riding in the back seat was Valor, his canine partner, a smart and calm Belgian Malinois with sharp eyes and a serious attitude. Levi opened the door, and Valor jumped out, standing tall and alert. "You ready, partner?" Levi asked, patting Valor's side. The dog gave a soft bark and wagged his tail. It was a small sign, but Levi knew what it meant. Valor was ready to work. Inside the school, Principal Eliza Mahoney was waiting by the entrance. She smiled as she saw the officer and his dog walking in. "Officer Grant, thank you for coming again. The students have been asking about Valor nonstop," she said. "Happy to be here," Levi replied. "Just don't ask him for autographs." They all laughed, and Valor trotted beside Levi as they headed toward the gym. The first part of the day went smoothly. Levi gave a short talk about what K9 officers do and how dogs like Valor are trained to sniff out danger, track missing people, and keep communities safe. The students were amazed when Valor found a hidden key under the bleachers and followed commands without hesitation. They clapped, cheered, and even asked if they could pet him afterward. By 11 a.m., the staff invited Levi and Valor to stay for lunch. The principal smiled and said, "It's mac and cheese Tuesday. We've got plenty for you and even a treat for Valor." The cafeteria smelled like melted cheese, garlic bread, and warm applesauce. Students were lined up, chatting and laughing, and the teachers sat at long tables. Levi chose a seat near the end of a table with a few teachers, and Valor lay down quietly at his feet, eyes half closed. Everything seemed normal. But then, Valor's head snapped up. He sniffed once. Then again, his ears twitched. Levi noticed right away. The dog's calm body had gone stiff. Valor stood up and moved his nose along the floor. He was focused, moving quickly but carefully between tables. "Valor, what is it?" Levi asked, rising to his feet. The room grew quiet. The dog was heading toward the lunch counter, where cafeteria staff were still placing food trays on warming racks. Students noticed the change in his behavior and watched silently. Some kids even stopped eating. Valor stopped in front of a tray of mac and cheese. He growled. It was low and deep knot, something anyone had heard from him earlier when he was happily doing tricks. Levi's heart beat faster. He rushed forward, grabbing Valor's leash but not pulling him away. The dog barked sharply, staring at the tray like it was dangerous. "Everyone stay calm," Levi said loudly. "Teachers, please move students toward the other end of the cafeteria." Principal Mahoney rushed to his side. "What's going on?" she asked, her voice full of worry. Levi kept his eyes on the tray. "I don't know yet, but Valor's telling us something's wrong." One of the lunch workers, an older woman named Martha Maddox, stood behind the counter, her face pale. A spoon slipped from her hand and clattered on the floor. Her hands trembled. "Eliza," she said softly to the principal. I didn't mean to. He was just supposed to help." "Who?" Eliza asked, stepping closer. "My grandson." "Evan," Martha said. "He was in the kitchen earlier. He helped with the trays." Levi stepped forward and crouched beside Valor. The dog was guarding the tray, his body turned sideways, blocking access to it. "No one touches anything," Levi ordered. "Clear the kitchen now." He grabbed his radio. "Dispatch, this is Officer Grant. I need a hazmat and food safety team at Evergreen Hills Middle School. Possible food tampering. 1 K9 alert on a serving tray. No injuries yet." The cafeteria staff looked shocked. The students were being calmly led out of the room, their eyes wide with confusion and fear. Valor didn't move from his spot. His eyes stayed fixed on that tray, like it was the most important thing in the world. Levi stood up slowly. Something was wrong, and whatever it was, Valor had found it before anyone else could see it.
The cafeteria was now empty. The students had been safely returned to their classrooms. Teachers whispered in the halls, and parents were already getting calls to pick up their kids early. The tray of mac and cheese sat untouched, guarded by a yellow warning sign and police tape. Valor stayed near the counter, calm now, but his eyes never left the tray. Officer Levi Grant stood with Principal Eliza Mahoney in the front office. They had just gotten word from the lab. The test results confirmed what Valor had sensed. There was a powder mixed into the food that didn't belong. It contained a chemical known to trigger severe allergic reactions in children with nut allergies. It wasn't part of any approved school ingredient list. Levi rubbed the back of his neck. That tray was meant for a classroom of 6th graders, he said quietly. One of them could have gone into shock. We might have been dealing with something much worse. Eliza looked shaken. But who would do that and why? Levi remembered the older woman from the kitchen, Martha Maddox. Her hands had been shaking when she mentioned her grandson. Levi decided it was time to talk to her again. He found Martha sitting in the break room, holding a cup of tea she hadn't touched. She looked tired, like she hadn't slept in days. "I'm not here to blame you," Levi said, sitting down across from her. "I just need to understand what happened." Martha stared into her cup. "My grandson, Evan, he's had a rough few years. His dad left when he was little. His mom struggles with work and health. Evan moved in with me last spring. Why was he working in the kitchen today?" Levi asked. "I pulled a few strings," she said. "The school needed extra help during lunch. I thought the job might help him, give him purpose, keep him busy." Levi nodded. "Did you notice anything unusual about him recently?" Martha hesitated. "He's always been quiet. But lately, it's been more than that. He barely talks, sits in the dark, doesn't smile. I caught him shredding old papers last week, cards he made when he was a kid. It's like he wants to erase himself." "Did he ever mention the students?" She looked up, eyes full of guilt. "Once or twice. He said they didn't see him. Said they laughed when they thought he couldn't hear. He told me they'd toss trash in the kitchen window and call it extra toppings. I thought he was joking." Levi's chest tightened. "Did he handle that tray today?" She nodded slowly. "I saw him stirring the cheese sauce. His hands were shaking. I asked if he was okay. He didn't answer, just walked out the back door." Levi stood. "Do you know where he is now?" Martha sighed. "Probably at home. He never goes far." Levi thanked her and stepped into the hallway, calling the station. "I need an address for Evan Maddox, possible suspect in a food tampering case. Send a unit to check the house, but tell them to wait for me. I'm heading there now." Outside, Valor jumped into the cruiser without a sound. He could sense his partner's focus. As they drove to Evan's neighborhood, Levi thought about everything Martha had said. Evan wasn't a criminal. He was a kid crying out in silence, and nobody had heard him, except maybe Valor. The Maddox home sat on a quiet street, a small one-story house with peeling paint and a crooked mailbox. Levi knocked on the door. No answer. He looked down at Valor, who sniffed the air and let out a low growl. They moved around to the back. The gate creaked as they stepped into the yard. Through the sliding glass door, Levi saw a figure sitting cross-legged on the living room floor. It was Evan. He wasn't hiding. He wasn't running. He was staring at a tray of food on the coffee table, the same kind used at the school. Levi knocked on the glass. Evan didn't look up. "Police," Levi called out. No answer. He slowly opened the door, hand resting on his holstered weapon. "Evan," he said softly, "we need to talk." The teen looked up. His face was pale. His eyes were red and tired. "I didn't mean to hurt anyone," Evan whispered. "I just wanted them to feel something. Anything." Levi nodded slowly. "Let's talk about that." Valor stayed close, his calm presence filling the room. This wasn't just about safety anymore. It was about being heard. Officer Levi Grant sat across from Evan Maddox in the quiet living room. The lights were off, and the only sound was the ticking of a small wall clock. Valor lay beside Levi, calm but alert, his eyes never leaving Evan. On the coffee table between them was the tray of food. It looked almost the same as the one Valor had barked at in the school cafeteria. Evan had been sitting alone with it for who knows how long, just staring. "I didn't think it would be that serious," Evan said again, his voice barely above a whisper. "It was just powder, something I found online. I didn't think it would hurt anyone." Levi didn't speak right away. He watched the boy. Evan looked like he hadn't slept in days. His hands were shaking. His hoodie sleeves were pulled over his palms and he kept rubbing them together like he was cold. "There are kids at that school with severe allergies," Levi said finally. "Even a small amount of what you put in the food could have sent someone into shock. They could have died." Evan lowered his head. "I just wanted them to feel something, to stop ignoring me. I've walked through those halls. They laugh, they push, they throw food like I'm part of the trash. No one knows my name, no one cares." Levi sat back, thinking about all he'd heard from Martha earlier. He could see it now. Evan didn't act out because he was cruel. He did it because he was invisible and full of pain. Still, that didn't make what he did right. "You didn't want to hurt anyone," Levi said softly. "But you still could have. That matters." Evan nodded slowly, tears starting to fill his eyes. "I thought, maybe if something happened, they'd finally see me." Levi leaned forward. "Evan, what you're feeling is real. I believe you. But this, what you did, it put lives at risk. Kids, teachers, people who had nothing to do with your pain." "I know," Evan said, his voice cracking. "When your dog barked, I knew it was over. I knew someone finally saw through it." Levi looked down at Vala. The dog had moved closer, resting his chin on Evan's shoe. Evan flinched, then looked down, surprised. "He's not mad?" Evan asked quietly. "No," Levi said. "He's doing what he was trained to do. Pay attention to what others miss. He sensed something wrong, even if nobody else did." Evan wiped his eyes. "I don't want to go to jail." "You might not," Levi replied, "but you do need to take responsibility. That means talking to the right people, telling the truth." Evan didn't fight when Levi stood up. He followed him to the police cruiser without a word. Vala walked beside them, calm as ever. The boy didn't look like a criminal. He looked like someone who had finally been noticed. Back at the station, Levi didn't cuff Evan. He sat him in an interview room and asked if he wanted to call his grandmother. Evan said yes. When Martha arrived, she hugged her grandson tight and didn't say anything. She just cried softly into his shoulder. Later, Levi sat at his desk, writing his report. He made sure to include every detail of what happened, from Vala's first alert to Evan's quiet confession. He also added a note recommending therapy over jail time. "He needs help, not punishment," Levi wrote. Captain Vargas stopped by and read over Levi's shoulder. "Tough case," she said. Levi nodded. "Yeah, but it's not just about safety, it's about being heard." The next day, Levi returned to Evergreen Hills Middle School. Teachers were cleaning the cafeteria. The principal looked tired but calm. "Is the boy going to jail?" she asked. "Not today," Levi said. "He's starting counseling. He's got a long road ahead." She nodded slowly. "Thank you for listening, for paying attention." Levi looked down at Vala, who was sitting near the same counter where he'd barked the day before. The dog's eyes were still sharp, still watching everything. "I didn't do much," Levi said. "He's the one who saved them." The principal smiled. "Maybe. But you're the one who gave him a voice." 2 days after the food scare, Evergreen Hills Middle School reopened its doors. The students came back, but the building felt different. The lunch tables were still lined up, the posters were still on the walls, and the smell of mac and cheese had faded. But something deeper had changed. Teachers welcomed kids with warm smiles. The kitchen was cleaner than ever. Even the janitor wiped the doorknobs twice, just to be sure. Still, a quiet unease hung in the air. Parents whispered in the pickup line, and students spoke in hushed voices about the tray incident. Everyone knew how close they had come to something terrible. Officer Levi Grant felt it too. He couldn't stop thinking about Evan Maddox, the boy who had wanted to be noticed so badly that he nearly caused a disaster. Levi believed Evan didn't want to hurt anyone, but his pain had almost led to tragedy. One afternoon, Levi drove to Martha Maddox's small house. Vala sat in the passenger seat, ears perked. Levi knocked gently. Martha opened the door slowly. "You're not here to arrest me, are you?" she asked with a sad smile. "No, ma'am," Levi said. "Just wanted to talk." She welcomed him inside. The house smelled like lemon cleaner and something cooking in a crock pot. There were pictures of grandkids on the walls and a pair of reading glasses on the coffee table. "I keep asking myself where I went wrong," Martha said as they sat. "I thought I was helping Evan, giving him something steady." "You did what you could," Levi replied. "No," she said, shaking her head. "I ignored the signs." He stopped talking. He sat in the dark. One night, I caught him tearing up his old school drawings. He said, nobody remembers this stuff anyway. She looked down at her hands. I thought maybe if he had a job, things would get better, but he saw the school as another place where he didn't belong. He told me once they don't even know my name. I'm just the lunch boy. Levi listened carefully. He didn't need a job. He needed someone to see him. Martha nodded, tears in her eyes. I just hope it's not too late. It's not, Levi said gently. He's in counseling now. He's getting a second chance. Later that week, the school district held a small ceremony in the courtyard. It wasn't fancy, just a few chairs, a podium, and a table with cookies and lemonade. But it was important. Principal Eliza Mahoney stood at the front and cleared her throat. We almost lost something precious, she said, but thanks to one dog's bark, we didn't. And thanks to a grandmother's honesty, we learned something valuable, that danger doesn't always come from the outside. Sometimes it grows quietly, unnoticed. She turned toward the crowd. Today we honor two heroes. Valor, the dog who listened when no one else did, and Martha Maddox, who spoke up when it mattered most. Valor sat proudly beside Levi, wearing a new vest with a shiny silver tag. Valor, guardian of Evergreen Hills. Students placed handwritten thank you notes at his paws. One girl with asthma hugged him tightly and whispered, "Thank you for smelling the scary stuff." Levi felt a lump in his throat. A few days later, the school launched a new program called Silent Signals. It was designed to help students speak up when they felt invisible, scared, or unsure. Levi and Valor were invited to visit other schools and talk about safety, not just physical safety, but emotional safety too. Levi's speech was simple. You don't have to be a dog to sense when something's wrong, he told students. You just have to pay attention. Listen to your gut. Look out for each other. One quiet boy raised his hand and asked, "Can dogs smell sadness?" Levi smiled, maybe not exactly, but Valor can tell when someone needs a friend, and so can you. The room clapped. Valor barked once, perfectly timed. Weeks passed. Evan's letter arrived one morning. It was short but honest. "Officer Grant, I know I messed up, but I'm learning. The counselor helps. I saw the story about Valor in the paper. They called him a guardian of empathy. If a dog can care that much, maybe I can learn to care too. Thank you for stopping me before it was too late. Sincerely, Evan Maddox." That night, Levi sat on his porch with Valor beside him. The sun was setting and the air was cool. He read the letter again, then looked down at his dog. "We're not just catching bad guys anymore, huh?" Valor thumped his tail once, eyes steady. "No," Levi said softly. "We're helping people find their way back."
Subscribe to our YouTube channel, Love Tales of Tales, for long, heartwarming pets and animals. Love stories that stay with you long after they end.